Members, I'll call to order the Committee on Jobs and Economic Development. It's Wednesday, February 15th. We have a quorum, and a quorum is present. Today, just so that everyone has sort of a roadmap, as you know, the way I like to run committees is very straightforward, but very clear. We have hearings for Senate File 1084 and 1350. Both of those are my bills, so those will be kind of interspersed throughout the day because I don't always want to start first, but it seems like I'm going to be forced to at least start first today. Senate File 1284 from Senator Mohamed, you will hear her bill. And finally, Senate File 1214 from Senator Oumou Verbeten. So I'm going to begin with my bill, which is going to be 13, which one am I starting with? Just so I'm clear. All right, there we go. My hired bill. I wanted to make sure which one I'm doing first. So it's going to be the 1350 hired bill. So I'm going to ask Ms. Brecky to join me at the table, and I'll join you at the testifiers table. And Senator Mohamed, who is also the vice chair of Jobs, will take over. Senator Mohamed, come on over, who will now be the chair.
You should have the center. I thought you should have the center.
And do we have Madam Chair?
Senator Champion?
I'd ask the committee to consider Senate File 1350 and this bill, if you'd like for me to go forward, Madam Chair, is an appropriation to hired. They previously have gotten money from the Workforce Development Fund, and they want to also get money now in order to expand their career pathway, job training, and placement program. This program, just so you know, before I get to my testifier, this program connects lower-skilled job seekers to entry-level and gateway jobs in high-growth sectors. So today I'm going to have two testifiers. One is Ms. Julia Brecky, who is the Executive Director of Hired, who is sitting next to me. And then after that testimony, Madam Chair, I hope we can go to Geneva McCoy, who is with the University of Minnesota. We call it UROC, but it stands for University Research and Outreach Engagement Center. And that person will be by Zoom. So, Madam Chair, we would like to have Ms. Brecky go forward and talk about hired and why this important appropriation is necessary.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Champion. Ms. Julie Brecky, you can go ahead and testify.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Julie Brecky. I'm the Executive Director at Hired, and I'm really thankful for your time today. As you may know, Hired is a multi-service workforce development nonprofit, and our work centers on one thing: helping people prepare for and secure good jobs. We define a good job as one with a family-sustaining wage, medical benefits, and an opportunity to advance. Not only that, to stabilize your family and to build wealth as well. Hired works with people across the Twin Cities, and we support individuals whose employment opportunities have been shaped by systemic and historic inequities. We build trusting relationships one person at a time, and in fact, last year we worked with 5,625 individuals. Of that number, 1,524 actually secured a job, despite this crazy workforce disruption that we've had. The average wage and salary earned by the people placed by Hired is just over $47,000. Hired is one of our most collaborative and impactful programs is our Career Pathway program, where we actually prepare people for jobs as medical call center folks, office admin, and medical manufacturing. We work with employer partners who struggle to find qualified candidates for entryway and gateway level jobs. I'm really happy to say that our employers are involved at every step of the way, from co-creation curriculum to actually all the way to guaranteeing job interviews and everything in between. We have many employer partners. You heard Senator Champion mention that the University of Minnesota, UROC, is one of our employers, as is Alina Children's Hospital, CVS, Fairview is huge, so is Medica and Alina, just a handful of employers across the Twin Cities for our Career Pathway program. Last year, we served 143 individuals through the Career Pathway program, and I'm delighted to say that 92% gained employment after graduation. The people that we're serving, in fact, 81% would self-identify as BIPOC, 78% earned industry-recognized credentials, and again, 92% gained employment. The average wage of employment for our Career Pathway program graduates is between $16 and $24 an hour, and we're always trying to get the upper end of that range. The reason we're here today is we know we can do more. As Senator Champion mentioned, we are generously supported by deed and competitive grants, and we're doing great work with that. We have a track record of securing those and performing well. If we end up with a direct appropriation, we know we can offer more trainings, serve more people, train more people, and fill more job openings, which employers are really, of course, we all know there's the worker shortage. In fact, what we know is this is a key investment in helping to keep our economy growing strong. And in today's workforce, there's one applicant for every 3 job openings. We can be a part of that solution. Hired helps people assemble the skills they need for today's jobs and for the future. And I'm really here today asking for this direct appropriation because we want to be able to offer more trainings, prepare more job seekers, and especially in the high-growth sectors that offer that family-sustaining wage. I believe you have a one-pager impact sheet that says more information about Hired, but what I've given you is just kind of the foundational information. I'm really excited to introduce Geneva McCoy, who's with us via Zoom today. Geneva is a program graduate of our office admin training program. You'll hear her story, and well, I won't even say anything else. Geneva, it's great to see you, and welcome.
Hi, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Geneva McCoy, and I live in New Hope.
Miss Geneva, sorry to cut you off. Will you please state your name for the record?
Geneva McCoy.
And now you can go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Geneva McCoy, and I live in New Hope. And in the winter of 2018, I have been working in a beauty salon for a number of years. At the salon, I was the go-to person for problem solving, including things like technical troubles, customer service issues, inventory, and much more. Prior to that, I held other retail leadership roles as well. As a single mother, I was challenged by the low pay, no benefits, and lack of career growth, so I needed to do something different. I happened to see a flyer about this office admin program at Hired. I thought this class might help me get ready for my new career and open up a new door and new opportunities. Before taking the class, I had no confidence in applying for an office position, even though I decided that that was the career I wanted to pursue. The challenge was most of the office positions require 1-year experience working in an office, which I did not have. During the class, I developed my resume to showcase my administrative skills that I gained at the salon and in retail. Being accepted to the class was a big step for me. To be able to attend the 9-week class, I needed to decrease my hours at the salon, which impacted my income and everything else. Luckily, I was part of a church community that financially and emotionally supported me as I worked part-time while attending the Hired class. Towards the end of the class, we found a position on the University of Minnesota website. It was a full-time afternoon into evening administrative specialist shift. The position was with the Robert J. Jones Urban Research and Outreach Engagement Center, UROC, a research and outreach center of the University of Minnesota located in North Minneapolis. I was worried about the hours because I'm a full-time mom, and this job will have me working into the evening, which would impact family time with my daughter. My Hired trainer shared with me that once I was there, it could be possible to apply for other internal openings at UROC with different hours that work better for me and my family. I decided to apply, and with the interview practicing and other skills I learned from the class, I got the job. And my Hired trainer was right. Within a few months, I was hired into another position, which was full-time days, which worked really well for my family. This July marks my 5th year anniversary at UROC. And over the past 5 years, I've had 3 promotions. My current title is office manager, and one of my roles is to recruit, hire, and train for open administrative roles at UROC. I've been a guest speaker in Hire's office admin classes to share more about UROC's jobs opportunities, which has turned into several people applying to work at UROC. I'm proud of the work that I do and how far I've come these past 5 years. I'm happy to have a stable career with a job I enjoy, which is creating a good life for me and my family. Thank you for considering this bill. By funding this bill, Hired will be able to offer more career pathway classes, which will provide more great opportunities for more people like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geneva.
Madam Chair?
Senator Champion.
Thank you so much. So as you can tell, that this program, Hire program, is a very valuable tool in our community. And Ms. McCoy, I believe I see her from time to time when I'm over at UROC. And so I really get a chance to see this program at work. One of the things that you might want to know, Madam Chair, along with the committee, is that last year or last session, Hired was in the bill, and I think it was for $400,000 at that time. But unfortunately, the job bill didn't reach the finish line, so that's why you might see that blank space when we think in terms of what happened the last session. But we just want you to know that the investment is necessary, and it will be put to good use. So with that, we'll stand for any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, Senator Champion. Members, any questions for Senator Champion or the testifiers? I see there's no question. This bill will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, Madam Chair, if we can go to my other bill, seeing that we have a little time, I will proceed whenever the chair wants me to go forward.
Thank you, Senator Champion. You have Senate File 1084, and you have testifiers with you as well.
Madam Chair, thank you for the question. David McGee from Bill Worth was going to be able to join us, but he's not here, so I'm ready to go forward without him. I'm able to carry the weight of the bill.
Awesome. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair and committee, thank you so much for considering Senate File 1084. And let me just tell you a little bit about this bill. This bill establishes a fund to make loans to eligible projects that will transform neighborhoods statewide, promote economic development, and create jobs. The program will reduce racial and socioeconomic disparities by growing the financial capacity of emerging developers. And growing emerging developers is something that we all have believed to be important. And some might say, what is an emerging developer? If you look in the bill, an emerging developer, a person who's eligible has limited access to loans from traditional financial institutions and or is a new or smaller developer who has engaged in real estate development and is either a woman, a person of color, in the bill defined as minority, a person with disabilities, or a lower income person. This bill promotes ownership among people who have historically faced discrimination in lending and financing. And this bill can help move us forward or move us towards a more inclusive development community. By empowering, and I hope that you'll see that by empowering local developers, we build communities by reflecting the needs of the community and the people who live in it. Last but certainly not least, this bill creates support for creating jobs and wealth within communities. Building capacity, as you know, we talk about this, whether it's in education, whether it's in this arena, in any arena, building capacity in all areas of, especially here, in building capacity in all areas of development, community and historically disregarded communities is an important business and growth decision for the future. I am aiming to create a strong base of developers for today and for the future. I know, Madam Chair, that you and I have talked a lot about businesses in our respective districts, the importance of those developers, the importance of the vision of those developers, and the multi-layered opportunity for us to build capacity of developers, create jobs, but re-envision our communities in a way that is important. But I'd like for you to know, Madam Chair, that you'll see that there's 2 letters in your package from 2 important institutions and organizations. And you will see in there that one of the letters talk about it being time that we acknowledge that there are significant barriers for developers of color and others, and find ways to eliminate those barriers and advance equitable developments. And this is a development tool. This bill, these loan opportunities, is also a development tool for small towns, as well as, that is discussed by Rethos, I think that's how you, Rethos or Rethos, in their support letter, they talk about how pre-development funds are important even for small towns in rural Minnesota. And this tool not only helps the urban corridors or suburbia, but also rural Minnesota. And that's why it's statewide, that's why it's intentional, that's why we hope that this committee will support it. Members, you'll also notice that in the bill, I don't have a specific dollar amount or appropriation articulated in the bill. I am going to revisit that in the event that this bill is included in our final bill, because I want to make sure that what I'm seeking and asking for makes sense and is really intentional. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have related to Senate File 1084.
Thank you, Senator Champion. Members, questions for Senator Champion? Senator Nelson?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Champion. Just briefly reading over this and reading over the note from Rethos, if I'm saying that correctly, and greatly appreciate their work. I noticed that they mentioned the historic tax credit. They do work significantly with the historic tax credit. Of course, that was in that tax bill last year that was agreed upon that somehow just didn't get finished. But my question is, does the historic tax credit, is there a connection between your bill and the historic tax credit?
Madam Chair, Senator Nelson, yes, from this vantage point, when we think in terms of developers and what they need in order to make sure they have the capacity and opportunity to build in these communities, you want to use as many tools as possible, not just one, but as many tools as possible and what it takes. And so that's the connection. They're talking about how you can layer and create additional opportunities by having a variety of options available.
Madam Chair.
Senator Nelson?
Thank you. Thank you for the for that answer, Senator Champion. And yes, I think in the education world, we call that braiding funding, getting a lot of different funding from different streams. And so the developer fund program could also help with historic tax, with historic buildings as well.
Senator Champion?
Madam Chair and Senator Nelson, I think it will work in tandem with the historic tax credit as a way of putting together a financial package that will allow the development to occur. What is also important to note is that that sometimes the tax credit requires you to put the money up front and then you get these breaks on the back end. But again, those are all those things that they will look at and consider in order to make sure that a project is viable. But what's also important here, and you also see in that very letter that you referenced, is the value of the pre-development funds. Because there's so much more to that, because other funding becomes available after you get a certain place or space. And so that's why I believe that this Emerging Developers Fund creates an opportunity for a developer who may be from a small town or from urban Minnesota, maybe a woman or a person who is a person who's living with a disability, to be able to layer, is what we call it sometimes, in order to make sure that they have a variety of funding streams and opportunities.
Senator
Madam Chair,
Nelson?
thank you. So I understand, I guess the question would be, could under your proposal, I guess the question is, would there be a tax credit, like if it were an appropriate building, a historic tax credit? Would there, I think it's just something to think on as you move forward here, that would we then give a fund developer, would we be using a fund developer funds then to access or to fund the historic structure? And then there would be a tax credit on top of that. And so you know, while we're so supportive of the historic tax credit and new development, and funding does need to come from many different ways, I think we would want to make sure that we're not using state dollars in the form of your bill, perhaps, to then get a tax credit from the historic tax credits on top of that. Or maybe you're thinking of that. I'm thinking that it's going to take a while to kind of sort out how those things work together. And of course, there's the federal historic tax credit, and of course, we would like our Minnesota historic tax credit to match that. But then I'm just not sure how the developer fund works in with those things, and is there any double dipping?
So, Madam Chair and Senator Nelson, I don't think there would be double dipping, but again, that is something that we can talk about going forward, just to make sure there's no double dipping. But the whole idea is to have as many tools as possible for these emerging developers to be able to develop in communities that has historically had some challenges. That's the whole idea. But we'll certainly make sure that there's no double dipping.
Follow-up?
Madam Chair, yeah, so I just want to, I just want to be kind of clear here. So we would not, I do not believe we would want to give a historic tax credit, because we know tax credits are public investments. That's what tax credits are. Well, would we give a historic tax credit for funds that have come through the state already in a redevelopment, in a developer's fund? That's the question.
Senator Champion?
Madam Chair, Senator Nelson, I don't believe so.
Thank you. Just, we'll clarify as we go forward, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Senator Dreehouse?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Senator Champion, for bringing this bill forward. I like the concept. I do think we need some guardrails on the bill. Maybe some reporting on what the funds were used for and the success. You know, every few years, I don't know, something we can talk about offline. But the guarantee portion, if I could ask a question, continue.
Go ahead, Senator Dreehouse.
You know, you state on lines 3.1, loans shall have flexible collateral requirements, but may require a personal guarantee from the emerging developer and may be largely unsecured when the appraised value of the real estate is low. Is your plan to put a deed restriction on the real estate?
Senator
Or,
Champion?
have a position, a loan position for collateral on the property?
Madam Chair and Senator Dreeheim, what I am looking at is creating a program or fund where the commissioners shall look at a variety of different eligibility projects, right? And when you look at the lines that you referred to 3.1, we want those loans to be flexible, to have flexible collateral requirements. I don't want to say what that looks like. I hope that as the program and the fund is established, we first of all understand that the emerging developers have already had some challenges when we think in terms of traditional financial institutions and getting support that way. How do we make sure that we are thinking about the risk and appropriately, making sure that the loans can be repaid, but be flexible enough to understand that there is a desired outcome that we are looking for, which is how do we create this platform and opportunity for the loan to be repaid, but also what would it take in order to make sure that a person can secure that loan. That's what I'm attempting to do, and I think that's and in fact, that's what I believe that 3.1 to 3.3, 3.1 and 3.3 reflects.
Senator Graham, follow-up?
Thank you. So more or less, we're not going to have collateral, we're not going to have a deed position on the real estate if it's a real estate loan. And you could go up to $500,000 with no,
Senator Draheim, well, first of all, Madam Chair and Senator Draheim, it's possible because it says loans shall have flexible collateral requirements, but may require a personal guarantee from the emerging developer and may be largely unsecured when the appraised value of the real estate is low. So there has to be a determination that the real estate is low, but for there to be this personal guarantee from the emerging developer. You all like to often say in the business world, having skin in the game, what does that look like, right? And so I think this provides for there to be skin in the game, but also a recognition of what that quote-unquote skin in the game should be in light of what's necessary in order to make sure that the desired outcome of getting this development done and for it to be done responsibly. And last but certainly not least, I'm always open to hearing and exploring with you what those guardrails would look like in any reporting, because I want to make sure that programs are successful, but I want to also make sure that any reporting requirements and guardrails are consistent with what we've always done and not end up wanting to burden one community more than we have any other community. I just like to make sure that there's some consistency and thoughtfulness when we think about these things.
Senator Graham, follow-up?
I think we'll continue the conversation, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Champion. And you and I have worked on a lot of loan programs over the years, and I would, welcome the opportunity to work with you on this, because I think there is some opportunity to do what you're looking for, but still have some of the protections that that Senator Graham was bringing up, and he touched on some of the concerns that I have around the bill. But I think they're very, if you're open to it, I would appreciate the opportunity to maybe close some of the loopholes and be supportive of your efforts.
Madam Chair, Senator Pratt, yes, I'm always open to having discussions, because one of the things that I think is open-mindedness and talking to each other and trying to find a pathway is important, right? And even if we can get there, that'd be great. If we can't, I always like to make sure that we sincerely put forth an effort to do so. And I think that's what's been missing sometimes in our discussions, even here in the legislature, that we take positions and we just don't want to support something, so we just say no, as opposed to saying, I'm really interested and honestly interested in trying to get to a place of saying yes, because here's what I believe you're trying to do, and I agree with that, and what can I do in order to land us in that place or space. So, Senator Pratt, like this bill or any other bill, I would certainly be open to having robust and targeted discussions about it.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Champion, I'm still thinking back on the Rethos letter, and very supportive. But as I read, I just want to note, and I'm wondering, first of all, do you have someone here from Rethos who might be able to talk to me about this paragraph? It's the second paragraph in the letter that I'd like to get some clarity on.
So, Madam Chair, Senator Nelson, no, but in the event that this lands in our omnibus bill, we will make sure that we have someone from not only that organization, but others who would be helpful to answer any questions that you might have.
Madam Chair?
Senator Nelson.
So then, Senator Champion, then I'll just kind of direct your attention to the second paragraph. And it talks about like the historic tax credits, and then it talks about that, I think the bridge financing as indicated in this fund, which is the Emerging Developer Fund, which is what we're talking about here, that it's a bridge financing to create, critical for gaining access to this incentive, like I think they're mentioning the historic tax credit. Because the tax credits, as you mentioned earlier, are issued before the project is completed. And then the paragraph goes on to talk about flexible bridge funding is crucial for emerging developers because I think the tax credits, as you noted, come after the project is completed. But I want you to notice this line. This type of funding could help all types of tax credit projects, including low-income housing tax credits and new market tax credits, which can all be stacked on the same project. And I'm the author of the Affordable Housing Tax Credit bill we passed a couple of years ago, and I'm author of the New Market Tax Credit bill that we're hoping to pass this year. So I'm highly supportive, and supportive of the historic tax credit too. But I just need some clarity, because as I read this, it sounds like that the same dollars that are funded through the taxpayer in the Emerging Developer Fund program for wonderful things, historic tax credits, affordable housing, new market tax credits, all important tools in our development toolbox. But it is concerning to me that it's sounding like then that taxpayer-funded Emerging Developer Fund program, those same funds then would be eligible for the other tax credits, the historic tax credit, the affordable housing tax credit, the new market tax credit. And I'm all about stacking those things with the federal tax credits, and we try to do that, stack our credits on top of the federal tax credits. I do get concerned if it looks like we're using taxpayer dollars to get a tax credit on those taxpayer dollars. I just want to be really clear about that.
Madam Chair
Senator Champion?
and Senator Nelson, your concern as well, and duly noted. But what I would like and ask for you to do is not only look at the tax credit notion, but also look at the other eligible expenses articulated in 3.13 all the way down. So it's not just for that, right? And so it depends on what they're asking for support around. It could be earnest money or purchase deposit. Could be building inspection fees and environmental reviews. I'm saying that this fund will look at a cross-section of things in order to understand exactly how these things fit together. And I'm sure that we don't mind trying to find ways to stack federal money and having your concern duly noted. We'll talk to them about that and see how this would ordinarily work and see what considerations go into whether this fund would be able to be used up and against any tax credit or anything else. So your concern is duly noted, and that's something that we'll continue to talk about. So I would hope that you would continue to make sure, and I'm sure that you will continue to talk to me about this so that we can keep it front of mind, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Champion.
Any other questions, members, for Senator Champion? Seeing there's none, this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
You are. Just thought about that. SciTech is ready.
Since Senator Verbeten is here, do you want to go?
Nope, I want to go with SciTech. Okay, here we go. Let's see. SciTech, where are we with SciTech? What number is that? Oh. All right, first of all, thank you again to the committee for consideration of those two bills. We know that SciTech is now ready, so we're going to consider, and then we're going to go to Oumou Verbeten after this. We're going to go to Senate File 1284. So, Senator Mohamed. And as Senator Mohamed is approaching the testifiers table, I know that we were a little lax on some of the testimony that went forward before, but I try to keep those testifiers to 2 minutes or less because we like for them to stack on top of each other and not necessarily repeat the same things that the previous testifier testified to, right? And we want to make sure that we leave enough space and time for like Senator Housley and all the others around the table to ask these great and robust questions. So with that, Senator Mohamed, you may begin your presentation, and maybe two of your testifiers can come up maybe Jeff Tollefson, who's the president and CEO of Mintech, and Piper Cleveland, I hope I said that correctly, who's with SciTech Program Director. All right, and we'll start with the wonderful and capable Senator Mohamed.
Thank you, Senator Champion, and members for considering Senate File 1284, which would appropriate $1.4 million in fiscal year 2024 and $1.4 million in fiscal year 2025 for the Deed Commissioner to provide a grant to the Minnesota Technology Association to support SciTech internship programs. SciTech connects 2- and 4-year college students in STEM majors to paid internships with hands-on experience in small to mid-sized Minnesota businesses. Companies receive assistance funding, finding qualified candidates, and one-on-one matching stipend to cover 50% of the intern's wage up to $2,500. I have 4 testifiers with me today, 2 of who you are looking at. They'll introduce themselves and provide remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I want to thank all of my co-authors on the bill, Senator Dietzig, Senator Susan Faw, as well as Senator Pat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Mohamed. We will go to Jeff Tollefson. Mr. President, if you will state your name for the record and who you're with, and go forward with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Mohamed, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Tollefson, and I serve as president of the Minnesota Technology Association. And on behalf of all Minnesota companies that rely on skilled STEM talent, really thank you for your consideration of this bill today. The success and viability of any state's economy is a function of the strength of its workforce. And Minnesota's need for people who can solve complex problems and drive innovation is more important than ever. Whether in healthcare, agriculture, manufacturing, financial services, or information technology, the need and competition for skilled STEM talent is only going to intensify, which is why it's critically important that Minnesota expands its STEM workforce to meet growing employer demands. To fall short will be a constraint on our state's economic growth. The STEM jobs that help power Minnesota's technology-enabled businesses, think of the software engineers, the chemists, the mechanical engineers, or physician assistants, are some of the most in-demand and high-paying jobs in our state today. But unfortunately, Minnesota lacks a strong, diverse, homegrown pool of tech talent to not only fill the jobs of today, but more importantly, of the future. The skills and workforce gap translates into a loss of opportunity for Minnesotans, a loss of tax revenue for the state, and a loss of productivity for Minnesota businesses. We've seen firsthand the power of experiential learning that occurs within the SciTech internship program as we move learning beyond the classroom into high-quality, hands-on work experiences. These internships are a true win-win for students and employers alike, something that my colleague Piper and our other guests will share a little more about today. So as you learn more about the success and the proven impact of Minnesota's modest investment in its SciTech internship program, we trust you'll see the value of continued investment and support for this important statewide initiative. Thank you for your time and your consideration of this valuable investment in Minnesota's future.
Thank you there, Mr. Tollefson. We're going to go to Piper Cleveland, who's with SciTech Program. She's a SciTech Program Director. And members, just before she testifies, you have a pretty large packet, staple packet, in your amongst your information of support letters from a cross-section of businesses and others. So during your leisure time, before you go to sleep, if you want to, read those things and then make sure that you retain that information, that'd be great. We're now going to Piper Cleveland. State your name for the record and who you're with.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Piper Cleveland, and I am the director of the SciTech internship program. Simply put, SciTech is a connector, bringing college STEM majors and small Minnesota companies together for paid internships in industry. Small businesses need help finding and paying for talent, and students need help connecting to internship opportunities that will provide the hands-on experience they need to get a job in STEM when they graduate. Through SciTech's online portal, college STEM majors looking for an intro to industry can discover unique opportunities at local businesses they otherwise wouldn't be aware of. The one-to-one connection that SciTech provides also puts students in direct contact with the hiring managers, so they can apply confident that they're speaking with the decision makers at the company. In turn, employers can easily share their jobs to a pre-screened pool of student candidates, simplifying the recruiting process for startups and small companies who may not have a dedicated HR team or representative. In addition to being a resource to find talent, SciTech provides employers with a wage match that covers 50% of the intern's wages. The match is currently capped at $2,500 per student, but for every dollar that the state provides in wage reimbursements, private companies contribute $2.83 in wages paid to the interns that they hire through our program. SciTech's mission is to build and retain Minnesota's STEM workforce. The last 10 years of SciTech's ongoing success shows that the program works. Since 2012, SciTech has connected more than 2,500 students to internships. 30% of these took place in Greater Minnesota. 79% stayed in Minnesota after graduation, and 97% stayed in STEM. To see the location of where internships have taken place, please refer to the SciTech one-pager. There's a map that shows where all of our interns were placed since 2012. Whether in the Twin Cities or Greater Minnesota, many small businesses lack name recognition when competing for talent against the major corporations in our state. By promoting their jobs to our talent pool, SciTech can help level the playing field. And considering that the median size of companies that hire through SciTech is just 21 employees, that makes a significant impact. Minnesota needs to retain all of its STEM talent to meet current and future demand, particularly with women and students of color. Last year, 61% of SciTech applicants were from these groups. To demonstrate the positive impact of SciTech on those who use our program, we've invited a student and an employer to share their stories with you and express firsthand the benefits that SciTech provides.
Ms. Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you for that testimony. I'll give you a minute just to wrap it up, because I've given you a little more than I'm supposed to, but I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to make your point, okay?
Absolutely.
And then we'll go on to the next testifier. Great information, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My final sentence is just thank you for your time today and your investment in the SciTech internship program.
Thank you so very much. And what I'm planning to do, members, is once we finish with the testifiers, then you can ask any of the testifiers questions, okay? All right, we're going to go to Emily Beck, who is a senior manager of kidney and R&D at Matrix. And with that, state your name for the record and who you're with, and go forward with your testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Emily Beck. I'm actually now the director of the kidney program at Matrix Medical. Founded in 2009 from the University of Minnesota, Matrix is the world leader in bringing the promise of fully biologic organs to the people who need them. Through bioengineering implantable human organs, we have an efficient way to answer the unmet need of thousands of patients across the country who will otherwise go without the transplant they need to survive and thrive. Our mission is to eliminate the organ transplant waiting list. We're a publicly traded company located in Eden Prairie and have approximately 100 employees. For Matrix to achieve our business objectives, growth, and being competitive with larger companies, it is essential for us to build a local talent pipeline and seek qualified college graduates in the scientific fields of chemistry, biology, biomedical engineering, etc. SciTech has afforded us this opportunity. I discovered SciTech last year as we were looking to hire interns for the summer of 2022. Not knowing where to look or how to find quality future talent, I looked into SciTech and posted that we were hiring 3 summer interns. Within the week, we had approximately 15 applications of qualified candidates, and we were able to quickly hire 3 interns. Our experience with SciTech interns exceeded our expectations, and in fact, following our first summer of SciTech interns, I asked the mentors of those interns if they could share with me a time that their intern went above and beyond their expectations. All mentors came back with similar responses. Their interns went above and beyond, not just once, but consistently. Each intern demonstrated dedication and commitment to our mission. They were involved in critical projects where they were testing cell functions, characterizing different cell types, analyzing data, and even helping design future bioreactors to support our manufacturing processes. In view of our positive experience with the SciTech program, we hope to work with SciTech for all future internship opportunities, and we are requesting the Minnesota Legislature to continue its funding of this valuable program for the following reasons. One, SciTech has offered us a connection to work with qualified and exceptional students that are dedicated and committed to our mission. Two, upon their exit interviews, each intern has mentioned how much they valued their real-world career exposure experience at Miromatrix. Three, the SciTech program provides us not only the opportunity in finding highly qualified candidates, but also the ability to pay them a competitive wage because of the SciTech wage match feature. Four, additionally, this wage match feature allows us to build a larger talent pipeline than we otherwise would be able to do so on our own as a smaller company. And finally, by building a larger talent pipeline, it reduces our need to recruit out of state. It increases our ability to recruit and retain this local talent and bring them back to Minnesota after their collegiate studies are complete, enabling us to keep this amazing Minnesota talent here in Minnesota.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. That was great. And I will invite any of the testifiers before we go to the last testifier. If there's more information that you want to share with the committee, you can certainly provide that additional testimony in writing, and I'll make sure, or we'll make sure, that it gets to the rest of the committee. Online, we have Kristen Labrador, who is a SciTech intern that he's going to state his name for the record and give us his 2 minutes worth of testimony, and we're excited to hear about it. Kristen Labrador.
Hi, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christian Labrador. I'm currently a junior at Brown University studying mechanical engineering. I'm involved in Brown's golf team, their entrepreneurship program, and space engineering. I've also started a few companies in different spaces, one related to golf and another related to college admissions. But today, I wanted to share how the MN SciTech program has significantly changed my career plans and given me invaluable life experiences. As a sophomore last year around this time, I was really struggling to find an internship at a smaller company that would fit my interests and give me an interview with my experience level. However, once I started using SciTech, I was able to find a whole array of opportunities. Smaller companies and startups from all different kinds of spaces were listed, and through this platform, I was able to find that I could email and contact the companies that I wanted to intern at. The postings on the platform showed the type of companies offering jobs along with the contact information of the recruiter. Since waiting on a response to an application is really stressful, it was a huge plus to be able to contact and converse with an actual person. This way of connecting students and companies together through a platform was something that I haven't heard from any other engineering students at my school. They were also really struggling to find internships and envy the platform I was able to use as a Minnesota resident. One of them even asked if they could move in with me over the summer to participate in the program. In addition, SciTech provides an extra opportunity that cannot be overlooked, which is working with innovative companies in the medical technology sector. Due to Minnesota being a hub for medtech startups, I was able to sift through an abundance of amazing openings to learn and contribute to medical technology, and during this search, I found Miromatrix. I worked as an engineering intern at Miromatrix, mainly focusing on their bioreactor systems, and prior to this internship, I had a background in very basic tool handling and a lot of theoretical engineering knowledge. However, throughout the course of this internship, I did a lot of things, such as documenting the build process and constructing bioreactor systems. I created a carbon dioxide guard to ensure worker safety in the clean room. And I even created a structure which was later used to help bioengineer a kidney. And throughout all these projects, I was able to learn really valuable engineering skills, such as using computer-aided design, prototyping, 3D printing, wiring, reading electrical schematics, and problem solving. But most importantly, because of SciTech, I was able to apply the knowledge I learned in school to industry within my home state. Working in the industry was really a game changer for me. I had a lot of discussion with my peers at college about the work that they did over the summer, which was mostly research. And while they did learn lessons and skills for the future, they really didn't have the opportunity to step outside of academia. In addition, many of them who were interested in the medical device space wish that they had the opportunity to conduct research and development within an actual company instead of on a campus. The SciTech program was really a godsend for finding internships. I'm very lucky to have the ability to use such a resource to help build my career, and I'm certain that many others who have used the program feel the same way. How many mechanical engineering students can say that they were bioengineering organs over the summer? At least one, thanks to the SciTech program.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Labrador. All right, any questions for any of the testifiers before I ask the question? All right, so maybe this would be for the president. It is my understanding that in the previous years, you all received $1.7 million, and now you're asking for $1.4 million in fiscal year 2024 and $1.4 million in 2025. Please tell me why you're asking for that increase and what will be achieved if you are provided that appropriation.
Yeah, the increase.
Mr. Tollison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The increase that we're looking for will allow us to serve more students in the coming years, 325 students each. We also want to increase the wage match to $3,000. And accordingly, it requires a little more money than we had received in the past.
All right, any other questions for the testifier? Seeing none, closing comments, Senator Mohamed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am really excited that hope we have the opportunity to continue investing in programs like these, and just thank you for getting this bill hopefully across the finish line.
Thank you so very much. Senate File 1284 will be laid over for possible inclusion, and thank you to all the testifiers, both in person and on Zoom. Members, I'm now going to welcome to our committee Senator Oumou Verbeten. We are happy. I'm sorry, I just need to answer a question. So Senate File number 1214, Senator Oumou Verbeten, and I think you have a couple testifiers, so we probably should have them join you at the table, namely Michael Belton, and then Monique Linder, and then of course we'll have, after those two, we'll have Joseph Cole. But before those other testifiers will join us, Senator Oumou Verbeten, welcome to the committee, and you can give us your opening statement or anything you want the committee to know before we go to your testifiers. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. It's great to be back in jobs. Today I'm presenting Senate File 1214, and this is an important equity appropriations request for Ujamma Place. Ujamma Place was founded in 2009 when St. Paul African American leadership responded to the significant gap for young Black men living at the lowest end of the socioeconomic spectrum by working collectively with other nonprofits and community partnerships. Ujamma Place serves primarily African American men aged 18 to 30 from the Twin Cities, 7-county metropolitan area who enroll at no cost in Ujamma Place's Theory of Transformation, providing them with over 37 transformation supportive services to build positive lives for themselves and to move into contributing roles in society. This bill would help further Ujamma's mission with an appropriation of $1.5 million in fiscal year 2024 and $1.5 million in fiscal year 2025. And I have 3 testifiers with me today from Ujamma Place who will speak more to the need for the request.
Thank you so very much, Senator Oumou Verbeten. We're going to go to Michael Belton, the CEO of Ujamma Place. Welcome to the committee. State your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Michael Belton, and I have the honor of being the interim CEO of Ujamma Place. Thank you, distinguished Chair Champion, Senator Champion, Senator Verbeten, and members of the Jobs and Economic Growth, Finance, and Policy Committee for allowing me to present a brief update on Ujamma Place. The theory of transformation, we call it TOT, which is on the backside of the one-sheeter you were given, is Ujamma Place's blueprint to success in helping, I like to say, one of our secret ingredients for helping predominantly, African-American men age 18 to 30 transform their lives. Through participation in the theory of transformation, Participants have access to wraparound services and supports in the following areas: employment training and development, education, health and wellness, housing, criminal justice advocacy, and culture, which is embedded throughout all of our program pillars. Ujamma Place maintains a recidivism rate of 4 to 6%, compared to the national average of 41% and the 25% for Minnesota. While reducing recidivism is a good thing, investing in the success of Ujamma men, we think, is even better. Maintaining job stability requires stable housing. We currently house 37 Ujamma men at 3 scattered housing sites, and we are at capacity. Providing and maintaining housing is the costliest service provided at Ujamma Place at this time. However, supporting all 5 pillars of the theory of transformation is effective and is costly at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We will go to the second testifier, Monique Linder, who is the data and media consultant for Ujamma Place. Identify yourself for the record and go forward with your testimony.
Thank you, Distinguished Chair Champion, Senator Verbeten, and members of the Jobs and Economic Growth Committee. My name is Monique Linder, and I serve as the data and media consultant. The Living Wage Initiative continues while the organization continues to build employment partnerships, as well as advocate on behalf of participants and all marginalized populations for equitable wages and the elimination of discriminatory hiring and employment practices. Further, the organization will continue to assist its justice-involved participants with record expungement and restoration of their civil rights, with the goal of eliminating all involvement with the criminal justice system. The average hourly wage of participants decreased by 22% to $16.25 in Q4 of 2022, from $20.48 in Q3 of 2022, and $21.75 in Q2 of 2022. Notably, in Q4, 3 participants secured permanent positions, and 5 participants participated in the job training stipend program. The stipend program supplements the income of participants while providing valuable employment training and development in partnership with corporations. No matter their education or skill level, participants earn a living wage from day one on the job. The Living Wage Initiative is critical to participants meeting basic needs. Jobs and economic growth is a critical performance metric at Ujamma Place. And I've had the opportunity to listen to many talks by the founder of Homeboy Industry, Father Greg Boyle, who said, "Nothing stops a bullet like a job." And we add to that at Ujamma Place, nothing stops a bullet like a living wage job. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Being the data person, I'm looking at your data impact summary, and it looks like in 2022, you had an enrollment of roughly 1,400 individuals. Can you tell me about how many of those folks were in the job training aspect of your program? If you're able to tell me that. And then my second question would be, seeing that those are the numbers, whatever that number is from 2022, what you think the increased contact you'll be able to have if we do provide your request, which is an increase from what you've previously ascertained from the state.
Sure.
Ms. Linder.
Yes. So the number, when you look at our enrollment, we have an enrollment number that we measure on a quarterly basis, and the number you see is a cumulative number. Of that number, when you look at the unique population, we serve about 364 men a year. Most of those men are homeless when they come to Ujamma Place. They're either coming out of the criminal justice system, most of them are also unemployed. So you would look at a population at immediately of 364 that is entering into job training programs. The number, and there were a couple of questions in there, but when you look at our enrollment number, our annual enrollment in 2022 of new enrollment was 165, compared to the year before was 128. Our housing numbers, and we like to really take a look at our housing as critical. It's critical to maintaining a job. And so we have a long waiting list for housing. We're at capacity, as our CEO, Michael Belton, said. So hopefully I answered all your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Linder, you did. And we can go to your other testifier, which is Joseph Cole, and then we'll see if the committee has any additional testimony. So Joseph, is Joseph around?
Thank you. Yes, he is. Thank you. Thank you, members of the committee.
So Mr. Cole, as soon as you get settled, would you be so kind as to state your name again for the record and who you're with, and go forward with your testimony, and welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Cole. I am a Ujamma man. I'd just like to say thank you, Distinguished Chair, Senator Champion. Thank you, Senator Verbeten. I would just like to share my theory transformation story with you, and thank you for allowing this space and platform for me to share. I enrolled in the theory transformation at Ujamma Place about a year ago. I was, at the time, recovering from surgery, and I became homeless after falling prey to a housing scam, like a Facebook Marketplace housing scam. So now I'm currently the resident assistant at one of the houses in St. Paul that Ujamma has. It is a 15-bedroom, beautiful house. I live there with about 12 other of my fellow Ujamma brothers. The house was named the Nia House, which is the house of purpose. It was named that to give us pride and for us to be expected to live a purposeful life. In the house, we have a classroom space where our media consultant, Monique, can come in and teach us media tools. The coaches come in and help guide us and mentor us through our transformation. And then at Ujamma Place, we also have multiple classes that we attend that is really essential to our transformation, like career IQ, financial literacy, self-improvement classes, stuff like that. They also provide us Monday through Thursday with wonderful meals for free, arguably better than a lot of four-star restaurants, in my opinion. But Ujamma Place is really, for me, a place that has helped me grow spiritually, economically, and has really fostered my growth and becoming the person that my family has always raised me to be. Now I currently work 3 living wage jobs to help me get 40 hours a week. And I also take advantage of every opportunity that Ujamma Place offers me, being that I'm currently in their transitional housing, but every opportunity that they offer me, I put to use as that I'm working on transitioning into long-term independent housing by the end of my lease in August. Thank you again, Senator Champion and Senator Verbeten, for allowing me this space and this platform.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, and we're glad that you're doing better from your surgery. And it sounds like you're doing great work as a resident assistant. You know, people often talk about how good food is, but we don't know that if we've never been invited to eat there.
Oh, come on over. Come on over.
And so I want you to know that I am a foodie. Whether you're able to tell it or not, I love to eat, let me just say. But some other things that were important that you said to talk about fostering your growth and the work that you're doing, so we appreciate that. So let me pause to see if there's any other questions from any of the members. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my question probably is for Mr. Belton. Could you talk a little bit about the agricultural component of Ujamma Place, the Ag Tech Innovation Hub, and the urban farming initiative that's mentioned in here?
Mr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I can't. Quite honestly, I have been the interim director for about 4.5, maybe 5 months, and there are aspects to the Ujamma Place program that I'm just now getting to. I can assure you, when I get back to Ujamma Place, I will check into it and find out more. I think what that you're referring to is a plan that we had for building, either leasing or purchasing a space in St. Paul to house our headquarters and to have residences for our men. And part of that plan was to start an urban farming situation to help our men to understand what urban farming is all about, and also to offset some of the costs for providing meals to our residents.
So thank you. So it sounds like to me that, Mr. Belton, you'll get Senator Putnam some additional information on that program once you get back. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Putnam, any follow-up questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Putnam.
Mr. Belton, I just want to let you know I'm farm boy around here. So if stuff like this comes up, I hope you reach out to me and see if I can help.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions from any of the members of the committee? As you can probably tell, I'm not a farm boy. And so, no, I do know a little bit about farming. So let me
Mr.
just
Chair,
say-
I'm also a foodie, so I think we have to arrange a visit together.
Okay, sounds good, Senator. If there are no additional questions, we'll let Senator Oumou Verbeten give the last closing comments, and then we'll lay Senate File 1214 over for possible inclusion. Senator Oumou Verbeten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pass it over to our CEO, Belton, to offer some closing comments.
Mr. Belton.
Thank you, Chair and Senator Verbeten. I believe that what we need is a greater investment in the men that Ujamma Place serves. As a result, we are seeking an appropriation in the amount of $1.5 million a year for 2 years, totaling $3 million to enhance and expand the pillars of the theory of transformation to build capacity to serve even more young men through enhancing mental health, chemical health services, expanding housing, education, job training, and related employment services and supports. When I think of the name of our organization, Ujamma, which, as many of you know, means cooperative economics, I think of another term that lies beneath our name, which is Ubuntu. I exist because you exist. Ubuntu is an important reminder of the fundamental and inextricable interconnectedness of human and indeed all life. Ujamma Place's success and expansion is a success for the great state of Minnesota. I want to thank you, distinguished Chair, Senator Verbeten, and committee members. We welcome your questions.
Well, thank you so very much for your testimony today and all the other testifiers. We sincerely appreciate it. And thank you, Senator Oumou Verbeten, for bringing forth this important piece of policy. Members, that concludes, well, we will lay Senate File 1214 on the table for possible inclusion. Members, that concludes our business for this meeting. As you probably can tell from our agenda on Monday, that we have a packed agenda scheduled for Monday. So please be here promptly, ready to begin our work. Thank you, and the committee is adjourned.